Hi, welcome to the Kerouac Project. I'm Jana Benj and I'm here with Ciara Shuttleworth, who is our 51st writer-in-residence, and she's going to start off by reading us a few poems.
So this first one is called Nebraska 1985, and this is actually one of the poems that helped me get the residency. It was published in San Pedro River Review in spring of 2014. Nebraska 1985. The orange light of summer, sunrise lifting the canopy of nightbirds to the sky, still dim, blue as a glass of milk in lamplight against their dark. Birds thick and wild as my mother's hair coiled into braids as she kissed my father goodbye, woke us for pancakes. The creosote smell of new fence posts a quarter mile away meant the sun had risen hot and mean, and men would still buck hay, return to their wives sunburned and stumbling. My father summered like this, while my mother worried dough into rolls and loaves, dried homemade egg noodles on the floured wood of the kitchen table, scrubbed diapers in the bathtub to line dry above our Barbies, and mint tea we sunbrewed in her wedding china. The utilitarian thrust of the day surrounded us like armies of grasshoppers sweeping in clouds across the plains. We had no chores, but our games mimicked our mother's work, Ken always arriving home to Barbie tired. And still, after a shower, my father took us to the front yard for batting practice, to the stump out back to throw loop after loop until we caught its dumbness a dozen times in a row. Out there for hours some nights. No one goes in until you've made your throws. Light fading to pink over the ponderosas, my mother standing, patient, on the porch, letting out her braids. This next poem was in the Southern Review's Winter 2014 issue, Deck of Hearts. What do people mean when they say, "in my heart of hearts"? Is that like how my brother explained to my neighbor, Anne, that he has dozens of roles women play in his life, but sleeping with him was not her role? Nobody has more than one heart, so perhaps they are talking about a deck of cards, and maybe the three of hearts is their heart of hearts. Some amateur version of tarot reading, some lucky poker winner. My brother gave her a brotherly hug, told her he wasn't Mr. Right or even Mr. Right now, but let her sleep off her drunk on his couch cuddling his dog. She was certain he was her king of hearts and showed up the next night with her guitar, her hair and makeup close to beautiful. And still she was not his for the night of hearts. Maybe his heart of hearts was the ace he carried in his wallet, the Glock he kept loaded under his pillow, the butane smell as he burned the deck, got out of this town, not to somewhere better, just got out. That ace of hearts he shuffled back into the deck burned too, and now his heart of hearts is ash, and who knows what happened to Anne and her guitar. Who knows what goes through his mind now as my brother searches for hearts at the casino/bowling alley where he mixes drinks for the entire deck. The for the knights and queens he keeps neatly stacked across the bar, none of them hearts. So this next poem was in Tahoma Literary Review's 2014 inaugural issue. It's called Conductive Hearing. You wait and it doesn't come back. Somewhere not too far north, a train derails. You're still listening for the sound of a foghorn. Think it was a dream, your imagination, a semi. Maybe. Or maybe you heard the train slip the track on a curve, still 3 miles north, and since you weren't paying attention, and since the shriek of metal and mouths had to shiver through tunnels and rain and wind pushing back against it, can anyone blame you for mistaking your loneliness for the ocean? The train curled like you on its side, ground-facing ditchlight blown, the other a beacon toward the sun. The lone headlight shines down a daylit track. This next poem will be in Thule Review in November. It's called Love's Cartographers. The maps are handed down, each new layer built upon the luck or curse of the generations before, upon secrets held by skin, lips, loins, years in memory faltering before taking up a pen to record the route taken, myth or truth, and a path sought by the next set of hands, nib barely skimming the surface of the page, each fleeting mark spreading into age-heavy cotton bond, stronger strokes leaving ridges and gashes. When a bead of sweat or tear smudges a line between terrain, the paper lifts in a welt like new land coming clear through fog. This poem is in the spring 2015 issue of Plowshares. So I got news of this while here at the house. Limerence. It is the train off a cliff courting, the half-mast eyes across a room, fingers lingering too long on the exchange of a book, a cigarette, an apple. Nights of seeing a face in the moon and finally leaving the window to walk empty dawn streets in search of a rock or flower to hold in your pocket for luck. The first taste of the other's skin, nervous sweat turning to embrace, to underwear accidentally left between sheets, to cloudy days almost too bright to endure and the indulgence of secrets, to four-letter words you can never take back, and no matter how many times you've said them before or will say them again, to lovers, past and future. They feel like honey dripping from your lips every time, honey gliding over both your bodies until you glow, honey, the only sustenance you'll ever know. The next two poems, I felt I should read something from the house, even though they have not been published yet. I've just sent them out. So the next two poems were written, the final two poems were written here at the house. The first one is called Cormorant. And I finished writing this poem while Thor, a local artist, sketched me in the back room as I wrote, which he does with a number of the residents. So Cormorant. A cormorant tore away from the sun. Not startled by firecrackers, the city sets off to launch the flock's migration, but like a messenger. I was brought to upgazing stillness, a taste lingering on my tongue. Wash it clean or seek another spoonful. A cormorant tore away from the sun, flew beyond my sight, beyond sheets of hanging moss and nesting ibis. I wanted to hop in the back of a lawn worker's pickup, invite all the old women walking their dogs, and drive brick roads in search of the scroll the cormorant must have clutched, still in flames, in talon or beak. A cormorant tore away from the sun, dark feathers stark against a brightness I cannot bear to look upon directly, a contrast opposite falling stars, meteors. Maybe I've had it all wrong. Wishes whispered into the vast dark, my hope to be heard by the smallest of falling white lights. Maybe wishes are, instead, for the winged to carry, still on fire. And the final poem, Spring at Jack Kerouac's house. On the porch, I read letters dropped in a rusty mailbox, too new to have been Jack's. I want a third fucking option, Whiskey Zarzinski writes. He means he doesn't mind the pain, but he wants to move quick like he used to, even though he still has faster hands than anyone I know. He means he's tired of watching loved ones die or spend more and more time in rooms that smell of disinfectant and death, in waiting rooms with fish tanks and puzzles. He means just another few years of bronchwriting would be so fine. Some nights Jack stands in the dark living room by the fireplace in this house where he wrote Dharma Bums, questioning why the furniture from his St. Pete home is here in Orlando, in the part of the house once walled off to him and his mother. He is young and thin again, wanting to go hard, hard, hard on the old underwood in the back. But the ink ribbon is dry and the scrolls are brittle. In dawn hours, while I sleep, he roams his old bedroom, makes crooked the framed photographs of himself, young, writing. Some nights I leave a glass of wine for him on the desk I use, where a sink and oven stood when he lived here. In the morning it's gone, the glass. I find it days later on the back steps or by the oak out front, tipped on its side and empty. I want to tell Whiskey the third option is the one Jack chose, to wander his old neighborhood like a stranger confused by the changes, that there is life after the body gives way, that I'd love to spend a night with him and Jack, that I read his note aloud to Jack, and for one night, Jack wasn't restless. The glass of wine sat untouched, and when I woke to write and jog the lake's perimeters, Jack was with me, babbling a mile a minute about his new novel, one that no one would see unless they ran their fingers across the blank scroll, something no one would think to do. No one tries to read what they can't see. Jack's working on a novel about bodies giving in to youth again, in a place where death and illness cannot touch you anymore. A place where he takes part in every poem and story written by young hands with no fear of how destroyed a body can get when stoned by success and failure, by desire and hunger. A place where you can taste every word as it falls like blood onto the blank page.
Well, thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Gosh. And it was lovely that you included a poem that you wrote while you were here. Two. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've been working on while you've been here?
Well, I've written quite a few poems and dozens of drafts, which I haven't focused on as finished poems, but have focused on as drafts, so that when I leave, I have all of this raw material to work on, and 3 notebooks as well that I have filled with my jottings while sitting on the porch and around the house. I've also been working on a short story, a longer short story that is nearing completion. Not quite there yet. A local fiction writer who is extraordinary just read it and gave me feedback, and so I have a major revision ahead of me. And I'm hoping to get another draft done before I leave the house in 2.5 days.
Okay. And a lot of people are interested in how the residents go about their writing day in here. Mm-hmm. What kind of routine did you develop?
I haven't been so good about running the last couple of weeks, unfortunately. I've been more focused on the people here and on the whirlwind that picks you up and moves you through the last few weeks of your residency, or that's been my experience. My daily routine, though, when I first came, the first 2.5 months, was to get up around 6 a.m., 6:30, and have coffee, sit on the porch or in bed with my notebook and write, and then go for a run, come back, do some more journal writing, and then move to the back room, or more recently the porch, to do more intensive writing on the computer, so revisions and that sort of thing. Then some afternoons I would write, but often the afternoons and evenings were taken up by people stopping by randomly, or pilgrims who seemed cool. Some filmmakers stopped by one day and they were just absolutely extraordinary. So most evenings were taken up by that. The ones that were not social, the evenings that were not social, I would often move back to the porch with my notebook and write a little bit more before going to sleep.
Mm-hmm. And had you been to Orlando before you took up the residency?
I had not been to Orlando before. I had been to the Fort Myers area, Naples area, and to Miami. When I was a gallery girl, I'd go to Miami every year. for an art fair during Art Basel, one of the smaller offshoot fairs. But no, I'd never been to Orlando before.
So how did your perceptions of what Orlando was like and the literary scene here collide with the reality?
I think that we all assume that Orlando is very Disney, and I have not experienced any part of Disney while here. I've paddleboarded. I just went canoeing yesterday. Yesterday, I just went. See, this is how time flies here. It seems like multiple days in one, and it seems like 3 days is one day. Sometimes it's one big amazing adventure, and it never stops, and so time kind of gets lost. But my experience was, I was surprised. I was blissfully surprised at how huge the literary scene here is, and how wonderful, welcoming, embracing, and thriving it is. There are writers at all different levels, and everybody participates, and everybody is excited about it. And I feel very lucky that as soon as I came here, I was invited to participate in various events and read not just my poetry, but one of my short stories. So that was a really exciting thing.
Very cool. Okay. And what kind of advice would you have for somebody who has never been to Orlando before and who gets the residency here? What would you tell them?
Get to know your neighbors. The neighbors here are amazing. Just incredible people. Get to know your community. The literary community is diverse, widespread, and they all get along with each other, which is something I don't think happens everywhere. But it's phenomenal. So you can be as involved as you want to be, or as hermetically sealed in this house as you would prefer, if that's what you prefer. People are very respectful of what you want to do, and so I have turned down as many events I've gone to, because there's not enough time to do everything here. There's so much to do, and not just with poetry, but or I should say not just with writing, but also with the arts. There's museums, and there's art exhibits and galleries and art talks and plays and music, and thriving downtown that is crazy. Just wild to go to a speakeasy or a bar in downtown Orlando, and the characters that come out of the woodwork and the outfits that you see, it's incredible. So I would say to any future resident here, or anybody interested in being a resident here, that this is really what you make of it. Everything is available to you, and I think if you wanted to do nothing but write, that's available to you, and people will respect that. But if you want to do what I did and write and become part of this community, you'll be welcomed with open arms, and you'll hate to leave.
Well, for our last question, where do you go from here? What's next for you?
I am taking off on a multi-city road trip across the U.S. back to the Pacific Northwest. I'm not returning to New York. I'm going back to the Pacific Northwest. And I'm very excited because I'll see people along the way from my childhood, from my San Francisco days, from my graduate school days in Moscow, Idaho, just a whole range of people, friends that I haven't seen in a while. And I'll be on the road. And
Wow.
I feel that this is incredibly fitting after leaving Jack's house to be on the road and to be embarking on this adventure where I have situated it in such a way that I won't have to, there are only 2 days where I'll have to drive more than 6 hours. And so most days are so compact in terms of the driving that I'll be able to pull over if there is an interesting thing that I want to photograph or write about. I am hoping that I have enough notebook space for what I'm going to come across. A big part of the trip is stopping in Winside, Nebraska, where I spent a good chunk of my childhood. And Winside is the place in the first poem I read, Nebraska in 1985. And it's a place that my family always thought we would return to. And so this is going to be a very wonderful time to be there because it's right before their big 125th anniversary party of the town. There are still a number of people who are there from when I was a child. And I'm hoping that it is the catalyst to a lot of Nebraska poems that I've been trying to write but haven't quite been able to finish or make work beyond the draft stage. So so that's what's next. And hopefully my book manuscript, which every 6 months seems to get a complete overhaul, hopefully that will get published in the not too distant future. And I could be on the road again.
All right. Promoting it.
Yes.
Well, thank you,
Yes.
Ciara. You've been a fantastic writer in residence. We are all going to miss you, and please keep us up with what you're up to.
Well, thank you, Jana. This has been such an amazing residency. Any residency I do after this is really got a lot to live up to. That's not to say that I don't want those residencies, but it's really going to have a lot to live up to because the kindness and generosity of this community, of the board members, of my neighbors, of the friends that I've made, is just incredible. I'm leaving here with so much love and with so much I want to come back. I am definitely going to explore options in terms of what I can do to try and come back and integrate with this community again because this community, the Orlando community, is like no other that I've experienced. It's magical. It's generous, it's embracing, and it is thriving. I can't say that enough. I'm amazed. I think anybody who comes here will be amazed, and I think more people should come and at least visit and experience that.
Well, you've been a part of that, of making that
I
happen,
have,
part
and
of
it's
the
been
fabric of it.
amazing.
So thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
Jana.
we hope you do come back.